Welcome back, everybody. What's going on?
We are back.
We're definitely back. Today is a little different. But before we get into we do. We want to make that a surprise. But before we do, we want to get into what we're drinking today.
We're drinking Pizza Port Brewing Company Double IPA.
Cook. So Pizza Port, pretty cool little pizza joint out in San Diego. This is one of my favorite beers to go to. Please sponsor us if you guys get a chance. Send us a couple pizzas. Maybe we can review them on here, and then we can do some good stuff.
Cold. Just do it at their place.
Yeah, or we can do it at your place. Give you guys some, more publicity than you guys already have. So anyway, today's kind of a special kind of thing we're doing. We have a dear friend of ours. We've been wanting to have him on it, but we haven't figured out a setup. But fortunately for now, this is what we're going to go with. Hopefully it's not too bad. But, his name is Jonny. And he's right here next to us. Look at him. So he's part of the Currently Classic. And they're a band, and they're, up and coming band. And he's doing a lot of pretty cool stuff with himself. So what's up, sir? Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm glad we're doing this now. Finally, it's like I said, it was a while in the making, but I'm glad we're doing this. And you've been a pretty interesting person, and obviously you're a musician, right? I mean, with due time you'll be making the big bucks. But you've definitely have performed in some pretty cool places, and but
I'm sure you have your groupies too now.
We've got some groupies that, for example, our first show ever, there was someone there just drinking at a bar, and shows later, they started kind of messaging us and showing up at shows, and like we didn't know who they were, but they were like, "Oh, we were there at the bar the first time you were playing." And I was like, "Oh,
that's pretty awesome."
Really? So some original.
Yeah. Can you imagine it? Can you guys imagine when you guys do blow up or get some? They're going to be able to be like, "We were there, your first show you guys did." That's the awesome part about it, man. And again, I know you've been in bands, but I'll let you talk about it. How did you even get started with this whole kind of band stuff? Because to me, it's still very fascinating, and I've known you for quite some time now. So.
Some time. Bands, I don't know.
When you start playing, you play the guitar, right? Or are you playing all kinds?
I play all kinds. Yeah, I play piano, bass, guitar, trumpet.
How old were you when you started? You started pretty early?
Started pretty early, little kid.
I feel like most musicians start pretty early, right?
Yeah. I used to watch my dad play the guitar.
Right.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Yeah. So, what was actually the first instrument you actually even picked up?
The guitar.
The guitar.
At first, but I never learned it. I would just watch my dad. He'd be like, "Oh, this is a chord," and I try to do it, and I'm like, "Oh, this is too hard" or something. But the first instrument I learned was the drums.
The drums.
In middle school, I joined the band and drumline. For band, I played trumpet, and for drumline, I played the kit. So, and I learned how to do that.
So I do know that you've played in some of the music that you've made. You can play every instrument in it, right? Essentially, so you can be the backup drummer, the backup guitarist, you can backup singer.
Yeah, just because I make the music.
Yeah, exactly. And you also write your own music, right?
Yeah. Besides doing rock, I do other kinds of beats. I even try to do musical scores on little videos or scenes of movies. I'll put the scene and then I'll recreate the music for that scene. I'll do something like that too.
That's awesome, dude.
Pretty awesome.
That's pretty awesome, man.
I'm reading a book right now. It's called Range, and it's talking about just the how professionals, usually we think that they start from early age, just focus on that, like a tennis player, that's all they do, since a child. But this book is talking about the importance of just diversifying into all kinds of different other things that are not whatever you're doing. In your case, yeah, you're not only the guitar, you're playing all these other instruments, and I'm sure you have your other different interests besides that. But that book, according to this book, it's telling us how that makes a person more creative, just because they're having pulling all these different knowledge from all these other sources. And it's talking about some musicians from the Baroque era back in the 1700s, and just how they became so great because of that, because they started playing all kinds of instruments, and they became that much more creative, and then just that much more prominent in Venice. It was in Venice where it happened. But yeah, that's pretty awesome. Like it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I almost feel like once you learn an instrument, like one particular instrument, like the rest become easier, right? Is that how it is, or
Sometimes, sometimes, like if you played the guitar as your first instrument, you learned it. It's sometimes a little tough to get into like drums.
Yes.
Not always, not always, but I feel like if you learn piano or drums first, you kind of have like a separation with your fingers, your legs, and you could play other things easier. Uh, Piano requires a lot, you know. So when you get that down, everything else is kind of easy. But I feel like with the other different kind of instrument, like if you learn the flute first, it might be a little tough to get into different types of instruments or like a trumpet.
Well, first of all, that's gay. Nobody learns a trumpet or the saxophone. What are we, Bill Clinton, or what was that? Or was it Bill Clinton?
Bill Clinton, saxophone? Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to mean to interrupt, but I just had to make that bogus
Saxophone and
comment.
blowjobs.
Yeah, in the White House, somebody was blowing his clarinet or saxophone, right? So
But and then the book also talks about just compares like classical music and jazz, for example. You know, jazz is very improvised compared to classical music. You're reading notes, right? It's very, and it's just also differentiating between the two. You know, classical music, the book of the author of the book talking about how it's not creative, but just you're recreating it. You're recreating whatever it is you learn. What compared to jazz, for example, like your creative aspect really pops up because it's more your improvisation. You just going, how do you like in your case, do you like any of this, like which one do you side with? Or because you write your own music, so I'm guessing like you're more on the creative side than just like repeating like notes, right?
Yeah, it's like sometimes the band wants to do a cover of a song, but I don't like playing it. Or like Hey Jude, I don't really like covering the song as is. I like making it
your own rendition of it, right?
So for those who haven't heard, just take a listen to the music. They have the cover of Hey Jude, and it doesn't sound like John Lennon or the Beatles. It's Beatles, right? Or John Lennon. Yeah. So it doesn't. It's you can clearly it's Hey Jude, but it has its own take from these guys.
And that's
pretty good.
And honestly, for me, I like that. Like an artist that does this and makes it their own, and I'm glad he's starting to get a little bit more popularity. Is we've talked about him, and we freaking love him, Gary Clark Jr. Like when he created Come Together, it was Come Together, but the way he just rocked it, and we were just at a concert not too long ago, and he played that at the end, and the venue it didn't lend itself for that kind of stuff, but you can still feel like it's something different. That's, hey, listen, it is what it is, and the Beatles, but it's his, and definitely we enjoy that. So so just kind of, I know earlier you mentioned before we started viewing that music was kind of the universal thing of it all, and have you guys been able to connect with other people through music, as far as maybe people that you guys never thought you guys would be hanging around with, or being able to mingle around with, you know what I mean? That usually happens, and music brings things together. So has that happened to you guys, or do you have anything that's happened to you in the past?
The music brings together with like some. Yeah, we formed like a kind of like a strange connection with some guy named Chris.
Okay.
So through music, we found him, and he likes to just be at shows, and he sometimes does like contests on his like Instagram page, for people to like win tickets to a show they want to go to, and he sometimes puts shows together. He's even put us for a show, so we were openers for that, and he's a really like fun guy who does things for people.
Right.
And he's the owner of a contracting company. Very weird connection, but through him we get shows, or we get him shows, and it's something that like works both ways. It's mutual.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, I think just listening to live music in general, like even if it's not the genre you listen to, like that you're into, it's still just live music, no matter what it is, or for the most part, it has a feel that just changes you. Like it makes you Just you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, of course. It makes you, it turns a bad day into a good day, and it turns a great time into a much better time. And you know what? Speaking of that, I don't know if anytime you've come out of somewhere, you're in these cities or these downtown areas, and you have the dude beating on the 5-gallon pail, and he's making something. How does that make, it makes you feel good on the inside? Obviously, beating and drumming is something that came from, Africa early on and stuff like that. But it's a tap that gets our senses going. So, a lot of people believe that music, it really is the language and how we all kind of interact with one another. And, what was that movie? I don't know if you saw that movie where the guy who went to India and started playing a lot of Jonny or the Beatles stuff, and that caught on, and they thought it was him. Is that how it went? They thought it was him?
I haven't watched the movie.
Which one, yesterday?
Is that what it was?
The movie about the Beatles?
Yeah, like in India, right? Was it in India, or where did he go?
No, he was in the States.
Really?
He was of Indian descent.
Okay.
But so what happens? There's like a blackout, and then people forget who the Beatles are, but he remembers them. Okay. And since he used to play their music and knew him, he recreated it, and he started playing like big shows and stuff. And it was gonna be like the best album ever released because it was Beatles, so it was a bunch of Beatles hits.
Yeah. Can you imagine that happening nowadays? You guys accidentally start playing like some long lost artist, and then it's just like, oh man, found your niche, and then next thing you know, you have a career for the next 30, 40, 50 years, and you're playing all these covers like a lot of these people.
Yeah, people forgot like Miley Cyrus's music.
Oh yeah,
I creating it too.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, I'm not a Miley Cyrus fan. Again, it's so funny because I've spoken to you, and to me sometimes it's like, yeah, that person doesn't have talent, or it's just whatever. And then you kind of explain to me how they do have talent, and I'm like, I guess you're right.
You just can't hear the talent.
You just can't hear. You can't see it. But no, definitely. But you know what? I know you just played not too long ago in a pretty cool show. I know you were promoting it, Anaheim House of Blues. How did that come about? How was that connection, or how did you guys end up playing there?
Yeah, for our first show ever, we played at a bar. Okay. And then somehow some people heard us and they started calling us to book us for shows. And one of those guys, a promoter, he booked us at Chain Reaction in Anaheim, and then he liked us, so he started booking us like at the Glass House. And then he told us, hey, you guys want to play House of Blues Anaheim? We're like,
say no more.
Say no more. Yeah, say less. So that's how we got that show. And actually we headlined it, so that was cool.
So I know you talked a little bit about it. How was it? How was the experience? I mean, for me, I'd be freaking out. They said, hey, you guys want to go do a podcast on this auditorium live? I'd be like the Chicago, some crazy in Chicago or New York. I'd be freaking out too. So I know that one doesn't necessarily, because I know they moved it, so it's not the original one, but it's not the one Tupac was in. But definitely the other one. But yeah, how was that? How was that experience from the beginning, just walking in?
It's surreal, man, because my first show ever was House of Blues Anaheim for Social Distortion. That was my first show ever.
That's awesome.
And to say that I was like gonna play at House of Blues, I was like, oh man, like I kind of don't believe it. I can't wait till the day is here. And when you're there and you're walking through like backstage and stuff, you're just like, man, I'm playing here today. That's so. It feels so strange but good.
Yeah.
It's like an accomplishment almost.
Yeah.
So just to play anywhere really is really cool. Yeah. But see where you've seen some of your favorite artists play, it's like, wow, like they were on the stage. That's such a.
The first show I saw was a Spanish rock band. It was, I think it's there at the Anaheim, where Anaheim Stadium is. The Sun Theater. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's like a tiny little venue inside the parking lot. I'm guessing it's not there because I haven't seen it.
Is it the Grove? Where the Grove is?
No, it was like next to the Anaheim Stadium, like in that same parking lot, like just towards the northern eastern part. So I don't think it's there because I do remember checking afterwards. But it was a tiny little venue like that, and obviously I don't play, but that I'm sure it'd be awesome just to go back to that same spot that
and do a podcast there.
I'll talk about music.
Oh, sorry.
But I mean, like you slowly kind of like get used to it too, right? Because I mean, you started at a bar, but then you slowly just continue playing, and I mean, I'm sure it's still like a little tense and nervous, but yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you can deal with it.
So about that, man, I know I've never experienced the moment you're about to go on stage and you're about to hit that first, that first strum. Was it any different from like playing at the House of Blues to like something that you probably do local? You probably get more nervous like when it's up and close and personal, right? Yeah. Is that true? I hear a lot of artists say that.
Yeah, it's just because they're pretty close to you, so it feels like you need some space almost. But honestly, like I just think any show you feel like jittery. At least I know I do. I'm gonna go up on stage and play some music. Hopefully they like it.
Well, they bought the ticket.
Have you had the experience where you sense that the audience wasn't like too into it, or?
Actually no. Actually no.
So, I mean, like if they're going there, obviously they know who they're gonna go see for the most part, right? So I wouldn't expect it too much, but at the same time, I have heard from like different artists or whatever that there is a mood every place you go. Is that what you sense too? Like just the mood of the audience, like or the
You can feel that.
right.
Yeah.
The
So it
ambience,
changes from
the-
from one show to another, right?
Changes. Our first show ever, it was at a bar in Pomona called DBA 256, that little bar. And it's our first show, we've put it up, we've kind of promoted it a bit, but we're a starting band, and we had never played a show, and there wasn't many people at the bar, and then it was our turn to set up and play. So we're busy setting up. You have like 10 minutes to set up, and then we turn around, and the bar's full to the back of people.
Hello.
And we looked at each other like, who are all these people? And no one was here right now. And I got nervous. I was like, oh man, like, it's about to go down.
Yeah.
First time you said?
Yeah, the first show, yeah. We were like, who are these people? Like, and then we started, and then it kind of went away after the first like strum, and then you're good to go.
So when when you're about to go and then you get a song in, it's probably the first song, right? Like it's kind of like okay, and then you hear the reaction of the crowd. Does that kind of fuel you a little bit?
Oh yeah, man! You start hearing people clapping or even singing the lyrics to your song, which like
Something you created?
yeah, we played at a show, and we couldn't hear ourselves for the last chorus of the song because they were singing it, and we were like we kind of broke it, like stopped the music to do like a 4 count and then play again, and we stopped, and you just hear people singing. We're like, what? Dude, that was a cool feeling right there. It's just some.
A cool thrill. Nah, man, I can only imagine the thrill of it. It's like, one of the biggest fears people have is public speaking, right? It's one of the things that people would rather die than public speaking. And I'm not even lying here. It's if you give them the chance, they just won't do it. It's something that I've never really had a problem with. So
I had that problem, but I think I
overcame it.
eventually.
You're on camera now, so definitely I think
Oh,
you
shit, I
overcame it. Oh, it's there. No, but yeah, man, it's one of those things where they do. So anyone who's got the courage to go up there and just do something, I feel like as an audience member, I give them the respect. And I even if it's not the best, I understand that it took a lot to go up there. I've heard you guys are good. And in case you guys haven't heard it, we're gonna leave some of his information in here. Go get it. He'll self-promote a little later. But yeah, it's really good stuff. And I know we were at a New Year's party one day, and we're all together, and they put it on, and all our friends started singing it. I was like, it felt like a good moment, man. And I'm happy for you, man. I'm proud of you. It's a good thing. So, but aside from that,
we're talking about synesthesia that you have, right?
yeah,
And
we want to talk about that. Yeah.
so, yeah, tell us what it is, or tell everyone what it is.
Synesthesia? I don't know the exact definition. I'm sorry. You could probably Google synesthesia. But ultimately is you hear, when you listen to music, for each note that is played, for each chord, you see a color, a shade. And some artists will listen to music and paint the colors they hear. So that was one of my tests. Someone who had synesthesia, they had a painting, but I had not seen that painting yet. So when they put a track to listen to that he listened to, I painted not the same thing, but I used the exact same colors. So that's why they knew that I had synesthesia.
Oh, okay. That is
Because
awesome.
I know a little bit about it just because I was really, like I into psychedelics and all that, and I know that it kind of can create something similar to it. But obviously you're not psychedelics, yeah.
That we know of,
So,
right? You good? Not
but
yet, at least.
so yeah, like for you, it's you're just born that way, right? It's like a mental or a brain connection, like different connection in the brain, and because I know like Pharrell Williams, I think, has it, and he talks about something like that too. Like he just sees for notes, different colors, and that too. I mean, I know that Van Gogh, a painter, he had it according to like one of his teachers. That's why I kind of knew about it too because I'm into art. But yeah, he's like his story was that his piano teacher, I think, who was teaching piano, I think it was piano. He was teaching Van Gogh, and when Van Gogh was trying to learn the notes on piano, like he associated him with colors. And at that point, that was back in the 1800s. So his teacher, he just thought he was crazy, and he just gave up on him because like what the hell, what are you up to? Like obviously back then it wasn't known, so it's something like that too. And I'm sure I kind of feel like a lot of the creative types might kind of like more gear more or have that because there's some creative aspect to it. At least that's sort of what I kind of understand from my reading up on it. Do you feel like it's attributed to any like your creative in terms of music or anything?
Perhaps you know what's funny is that I didn't even know I had that.
Right.
It felt normal to me to see colors, And it wasn't until someone brought it up, like they asked me, like, "Do you have synesthesia?" And I said, "What is that?" And then they're like, "When you hear in colors," and I was like, "Like that's a thing?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Because I do see in colors."
So okay. Yeah.
I just thought everyone saw it. I don't know. For me, it felt normal my whole life. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you've been seeing that your whole life, like you expect everyone to see it too. Because there's like colorblind people. I have a friend who's kind of colorblind. Like, oh, like once he realized that he was colorblind, like, oh, I thought everyone saw the same thing I'm seeing. Yeah. So it makes sense. Yeah.
You know what? It's interesting because I remember when you were probably younger. We were younger, obviously. You can hear the beep of those dog things, right?
Yeah, they hurt my.
And
Yeah, they hurt. Yeah, I don't know.
and it's crazy because I remember this lady. There was a dog beep and she kept doing it, and you're like, stop! Like it's hurting me. And she's like, I can't hear that. Like just bimbo, Yeah, just bimbo. Just didn't know. And this guy's over here freaking about to throw up, or he seemed like you got a little sick, and I'm like, man, that's crazy. And then I didn't know what that was all about. So
I've asked my doctors, and they don't.
you're just blessed. You're blessed. It's a talent you've been given. Yeah, it's a talent. You probably you can hear things a lot more acutely.
I think Pharrell. I think it was Pharrell Williams who says because since he has it too, like, he said he considers it an asset. So that's why I was asking you too. If you felt like somehow that it helps you in any way in your creativeness. I don't know.
Sometimes when I'm making music, it's mostly like I think it's different every time. There's days when I wake up and I'm like, I feel like writing a song. I have something feeling in me. But there's other times where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna work on a song. And it's two different things. One song's gonna sound like kind of emotional, and the other one's gonna sound maybe a little bit more upbeat. Depending on how you feel.
Yeah.
But it'll come out differently just because you say you're gonna work on a song, and then the other one is I feel like working on a song. Because there's something in you needs to come out.
It's that creativeness in you.
But when I'm working on some music, I'll make a track, and then I'll close my eyes and I'll listen to it, because when my eyes close, it's pitch black, so the colors are vibrant. Like if I'm listening to music, and if I really like the colors, I guess that would answer your question. If I can relate the colors with the music and stuff, and it feels good.
I wish I can experience that. That seems like an LSD trip.
You can. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe.
No, because I like they have compared it to like synesthesia to being a psychedelics. 'Cause we've tried them. I haven't experienced that, but I know like I've heard a coworker that had tried it, and he's like, yeah, dude, when I was on shrooms, I think it was. It's like, yeah, man, I could smell the colors, or I can some along those lines. And at that point, I didn't really know about anything much about synesthesia. But then, once I started looking into it, like, all right, it kind of makes sense. Like, it seems like they do overlap, or they are very correlated. So it does seem like there is a brain connection that you have that the rest of us don't. That like your connection, your brain, there's something that enables you to do that. Yeah, because like the occipital lobe and all these different, they're for different auditory, vision, whatever it is. So it makes sense that like your connections are wired differently, that you're able to sense those things. So that's pretty awesome. Yeah, I wish I could sense or experience that too.
And man, if I had some, you're in the stock market. Imagine having some in the stock market, and then all of a sudden you get a sense of, oh, and then it's gonna go. Look at that, boom! Look at that, you're rich now. But but anyways, so
I'm trying to microdose.
Yeah. But actually, so you brought something up that I'm very curious on, with especially on the art side of things, is the creative process. But do you have anything that fuels that creative process? As we know through history, some of our favorite songs have spewed from or have come from really either down moments, really crazy happiness. But what is it? What do you like? Where do you kind of draw some inspiration, or what is that kind of brings that out of you, in a sense? You know what I mean? It's.
What do you want to know? Yeah. Man, I feel like that's a difficult question to answer, just because you can't. If I sit down and just try to work on a song, nothing will come out. Absolutely nothing. I'm just gonna sit there for hours, and I'm just gonna get frustrated. Yeah. So you just kind of let it happen. Sometimes you feel like playing basketball. Why? I don't know, but you feel like playing basketball, so you go do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you might be really good at it, so you want to do it. Sometimes you just have like say I'm on the street. Yeah. I'm driving, I pull up, and I need to turn left. I turn on my blinker, and it starts going. In my brain, that will start going.
Oh, okay.
And I just start making a beat. Anything can become a song. But that tempo created a specific melody in your head. So if it was, you're already like, dun, 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 dun. It's little things like that. A cricket. Ding, 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 ding. You could like, out of that, ding, 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 ding. Yeah. And then it just kind of becomes a thing. You'll hear like a tone, and
do you feel like that happens with a lot of the artists, or is that just your personal thing?
I wouldn't know. I'd have to ask.
From what I hear, I do know that it just all depends. It's kind of like one of those things where you guys are creative, but the source of that creativity can be anything for almost anybody. I know, like, a very good song that I like, he literally came back from a show and he just was about to hang it up. And he just started really emotionally talking about something, started rapping it, with the guitar. And then it turns out that it was one of his smash hits to this day. So, but anyway, so.
We can continue. We can end it here. It's up to you. You want to continue for another?
Yeah, we can continue.
All right.
Yeah.
So we took a beer break.
We're back. Thank you, Swamp, or Pizza Port, for sponsoring this. Psych.
What'd you say?
They sponsored this. No, I'm kidding. They didn't. I wish. Any local breweries around here that want to get you guys product pushed, please give us some stuff.
Definitely. Eric Weinstein, his podcast, he's doing a reverse sponsorship. So what he's doing
is paying them?
No. No, he just chooses whatever sponsor he does, and then he just gives a shout out and tell all information, and just just tells the audience, let them know that I sent you, and if they choose to like do a proper sponsor, then they can do it. Otherwise, then he just leaves it at that. But I thought it was an interesting idea.
Yeah, it's kind of what we do in a weird way. We already feel like we're sponsored, except my Wally's paying for it. So anyways, but yeah, no, now going back to, I know we kind of left off on the whole thing of where you kind of draw your inspiration. And that's one of the fascinating things about all this that you guys do, because not any regular Joe off the street can become an artist in any form, right? Art, music, or any other of those other arts that they call. But that's why, artists are artists. So I know there was, so going back to that, where do you really draw this inspiration from?
Mostly just how you feel. Yeah. Just how you mentioned earlier, sometimes they're in a really down spot, an artist, and the music will sound sad. You can hear it. Yeah. And then the lyrics make it even more like melancholic.
Yeah.
But however you're feeling, if you're feeling kind of happy, your music's gonna sound pretty happy.
Yeah.
But most of the time, how I do it, I'll go to the keyboard or the guitar, and I'll just start playing it. Just random chords, notes, and then all of a sudden that note, oh man,
that yeah.
Take off from there.
It's like, some of our favorite music is, Under the Bridge. It's like one of the, you hear, as soon as you hear that first sentence, it puts you in a different mood. Some of Sublime stuff, right? You can do that, a lot of different stuff. But so feeling right. Once you start kind of getting in a groove, how long does it usually take you? Is it an ongoing process, or do you lay something down kind of in a, like a, what do you want to say, like a rough draft, and then you just kind of, does the beginning sound what the end does, or what's your process?
Always different. Sometimes in like 3 hours, the song's finished. Sometimes you start it and then you're conflicted. Man, should I do this with the song? Should I do that with it? And you're just kind of like, I'm gonna leave it, take a break, and then I'll come back to it later. And sometimes you think of like a continuation that you want to do. Say you want to do like a 5-song EP or 6-song EP, but with like a story. So you start brainstorming songs so it could flow seamlessly.
Right.
And I'm working on something like that right now, where it's going to be a 5-song EP, but it's just going to flow.
I like those.
You're not going to notice where the next song starts.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard rock, progressive rock. So it's not going to be like the band I'm in, currently classic. It's a side project.
Uh-oh, this is where it goes. Uh-oh, this is it. Look out.
So, showed a few people the music, and I have a drummer already and another guitarist who are interested and going to start working on it. It's going to be double bass, everything's going to be
That's fucking awesome.
Very heavy, but I explained them the backstory of the EP and what it was all about, and they were all on board.
Awesome, dude.
I sent them all the intros to the songs
awesome.
And they were just like, oh yeah, we're in this.
No, man, that's pretty freaking amazing. Maybe we can come back and do something live or something. Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. But anyways, going on this, man, I know you said that you've worked with some people and you've mentioned that you sent your stuff to some people. Because you've been in the studio with some pretty cool people, right? I'll let you talk about that, but do you see certain things that you pick up and you put in your kind of your arsenal, and you kind of put it in your practice? Is that something you kind of keep in mind on? You keep an eye out, or is it you just kind of like, just whatever works? Someone once told me, model the master, and until you become as good as a master, then you can figure it out on your own. Is that the approach you take, or what is it with the creative process of this and looking at other people?
Looking at other people, I try to pay attention as much as I can. I watch, I observe, I learn. There's always something. Every engineer, every producer has a different way to make music. They have different likes, different effects they like on music, different sounds, and you learn a little something different from each one. And if you try to pretend like you're better than them, you're not gonna get better at making music.
There it is.
So I watch, I listen, I pay attention to what he's got to say and why he does things. You know, there's an explanation to why producers do certain things, and it's their like signature.
Yeah.
So like that's why certain artists, certain bands go with certain producers because they like their thing.
Absolutely. So, oh man, I had a question, but go ahead, Art.
Yeah, because I mean, it seems like everyone does have their style, right? Because I remember, I think it was Santana who was talking about how when he was a child, he was trying to imitate, I think, Hendrix, and you know, he's like trying to just do the same licks and all, you know, that he does, but it wouldn't come out like Hendrix. It would come out like Santana. Yeah, and that's why like his way of playing, you can identify it, you know, from any place.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like it just stands out. So I feel like everyone has their little signature thing, like you're talking about. Like they like, even if you try to imitate it as much as possible, you're not gonna be. I guess, you know, you can.
You can be
But-
a real good cover artist.
Right? Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But what I'm saying, like, if everyone has their own thing that just pops out, or a lot of people, or the people who actually make it, I think, in a way, at least that's what I sense from, you know, just listening to different artists, you know, like especially with Santana in this case. But he was like, yeah, I was trying to copy Hendrix, but it just wouldn't come out. It just came out this way. And I mean, obviously he's Santana, yeah. So
Shut
so
up.
I feel like that, you know, like that's sort of what you're talking about too. Like everyone has their little signature touch on whatever it is they're doing, and you shouldn't necessarily try to copy it and try to be like that person. But like you're saying, just learn from it, just see what they're doing, and maybe you'll pick up one or two things that just improve your way of playing or creating. But obviously, you know, I mean, you shouldn't probably try to copy it to the
T. Yeah. No, definitely, and just shout out to that. You know, they were saying that in that Woodstock he did, he's what 18, 19 years old, and he saw the neck of the guitar doing like the snake thing, and whoever slipped that in it, or why he took it. By the way, have you ever been loaded on stage? Yes, you wouldn't be a rock star if you did it, you know?
Yeah, just sometimes you need the right motivation.
Same, dude, same.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that, guys. Cheers to that. But no, definitely.
And sometimes other bands will supply you with certain things. And here you go. You're next on stage.
Go break a leg, you know. But no, that's super cool, man. And you know, something about this podcast and why we started, we're all about self-betterment, man. It's being the best person you can be tomorrow. And I'll tie this in a little bit. So, you know, it's all about continuous improvement, right? That whole Kaizen, or however you say that, the Japanese term of just continuous improvement, getting better. And with that being said, I know you mentioned that you tend to keep an eye out on what these people do. From your experience, do you feel like people that have done it, been there, they're not going anywhere? You can't take from them. When you ask them a question, do you feel like they're receptive, or you think, you know, do they elaborate as good as you want them to, or are they just kind of like, nah, well, this is the way that works? How are people when you're curious and you know they're really good at something? How do they take it and explain it to you?
There's been a couple of times where they didn't really like want to like really say much, but most of the time, everyone elaborated and they were really kind about it. Cool. And we got to open in Costa Mesa for a band called Mest. I don't know if you ever heard of that punk rock band. And for their time, they were huge. You know, playing with like Good Charlotte and stuff.
Oh wow!
And even, you know, Benjamin from Good Charlotte even sang on one of Mest's songs.
That's awesome.
And this guy Anthony Lovato from Mest, super awesome guy. You had a question about shows or about like promoters or just music, he'd sit down, get a cigarette and a beer, and he explained to you. But yeah, it's really cool guys. You know that they've been there, they've played huge shows, they've done so many things
Been there, done
in the
that.
music,
Yeah.
and he's regular guy just explaining away like certain questions that I had. But those are my experiences. Right?
That's awesome, man. Like I said, it's great. We're obviously the same way. I had a mentor tell me, you just model the master and you kind of go from there. And when people, those are the little nuggets of gold that you get every once in a while. Not everyone gets those, or they're more than willing to share those informations, right? That information. Nowadays is a little bit easier because, like we've talked about it. If you feel like Elon Musk is your idol, you pretty much know what he's thinking. You know what he's probably doing. Maybe not on a personal level, but far maybe it was 20 years ago, and you wanted to know what Bill Gates is thinking. Now you know, but Bill Gates then, right? So definitely, it's one of the cool things to do. But kind of don't even know what to ask next.
Well, talking about Mast, I kind of like geeked out because I listened to him as a kid, and my sister showed them to me, Mast, and I was all about Mast. And with the day that I got to open for them, I was just like, dude, I was like, oh my goodness, like, can I have your signature?
No.
It's from my sister.
It's all framed. No, that's so cool. So actually, a question
Her name is Jonny.
middle name is Jonny. Juana. So Juanita. But definitely. So it's pretty cool, man. You don't really talk about this kind of stuff, and you don't let us know and stuff. And you've experienced this stuff, but I get amused by it every single time you tell me. Every time it's something cool. But whenever you've met some of these like people, that you've been backstage. How are people that have a little bit of fame, a little bit of a little bit of following? Are they cool, or are they getting? Are they kind of like I'm trying to get mine? I'm trying to get mine to stay away. Once I kind of get there, I'll talk to you guys. But right now, I'm like, let me get mine. Is that how it is, or?
I'll tell some facts right now.
Thank you.
Most bands that have they've got some fame, they're the nicest people. The ones that are the worst are the bands that think like they're like big, but they're not. Like sometimes they'll play at a bar and they'll be like a residency, like a band for the bar. They'll think they're like
they own the spot.
They own like everything. They'll be like complete douches.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
And we opened for Jacoby in the Glass House, and Jacoby is like Australia's Maroon 5, and Jacoby is really awesome. Just the fact that we were gonna open for them as well, we were just like, oh man! But those guys were like super down to earth, and like other bands that we've played with that they have headline. Oh man, they're terrible people. Terrible people. So it's the more famous bands are the nicest.
Yeah. I'm glad, dude. Listen, we're not gonna say bands by name, but if you guys have been mean to this guy, yeah, we're not gonna check out your guys' show. But it really is like it's all love, man. And you know what? And I feel bad because I've never been able to check out one of your shows, man. And I should, and I feel guilty because you're my friend, obviously.
You're a bad friend, dude.
I'm not the best friend. Let's be honest. I'm not the best friend, But dude, next time, dude, just invite us, man. We'll go check you guys out. It's all about support, man. You got to be able to support those who are doing it. If you're doing something, you want, like you just mentioned, man. You're doing it. Support other people, man.
Some of the bands that we've played with, we've grown friendships with. So they'll get us shows at even if it's a small spot, it's still awesome. If I'm gonna play the Wembley, or if I'm gonna play a bar, it's a show. And it's gonna be awesome. So at the end of this month on Halloween, October 31st, we have a show at O'Donovan's in Pomona.
Hell yeah!
So, I mean, I'm not no pressure on going, but we're just saying we're gonna play a bar. Yeah, our previous show was the House of Blues. To go from House of Blues to a little bar, it's like what? But hey, we love those shows.
That's awesome.
And sometimes bands that we met, they'll ask us, "Hey, you guys want to play?" Like, heck yeah, dude.
That's great, man. So how's the camaraderie, man? I know, like, a lot of people talk about, the whole, it's kind of sucky, but from your stint in the music business, how's the camaraderie between, the makers, the bands, amongst the bands, and all that stuff? Is it has I mean, obviously, like anything else, there's stuff that's probably off-putting, but how would you describe that, or how to you guys? How's it been?
Like, what do you mean by the makers?
So, like, you know, there's people that are just doing it, putting these shows on. So, promoters, right? They're making it happen, and then it's obviously it's like anything else. It's a business fighting for airtime. It's a business fighting for playing time. It's a business for most exposure. Has that gotten ugly for you? Maybe I just switched the question, but so what's that been like for you? Is kind of what I'm trying to get at.
Our second show was pretty terrible. Yeah, the promoter didn't give us any info on the show, and was kind of being like a douche, like just with us, you know, just kind of like toying with us, and we were just like, oh man, like we don't ever want this to happen again. Like we were even trying to like think of ways, like maybe even think of an app that could like remove promoters, like
Cut the middleman out, right? Yeah.
Or like you could set up shows without like having a promoter, you know, through an app. We're like, we need to find a better way to, because man, it is a business, but
maybe you should create your own app for that shit.
I actually was working on it. It's called Live Music Now. That's the name of the app. I'm programming it right now.
Maybe don't tell people because they might steal some stuff with our 55 views, you know. No, but for real though, I know in the past you've talked about almost being signed or almost take right. There I go. It's a comedian of it. I'm the fucking comedian. Anyway, so you know, you've talked about like close to signing deals. Are you guys signed?
No.
Okay.
Right now.
So you guys are independent.
Independent.
So talk about the plus and minuses, because I know for small bands they can fuck you in the ass.
Oh yeah, dude. Yes, like sometimes it'll look like a good deal, but it really isn't, and like you pretty much get screwed over. Like nowadays, it's like these things called 360 deals, like these big record labels will do, and you pretty much don't make any money. Like they find a way to take it all, and even if you think you are gonna make money, you're not. It's just it's a business, and they're trying to make money.
The way I see it is, it's like a octopus in the background, if you guys can see it. So you just try to spread their tentacles and grab onto anything. So they sign every artist for very little bit of money, and if that artist builds up, they're gonna make the money off of it, right? So that's just kind of how the way it goes. Did that just shut off on us? I think it did. So wrap it up. I guess we could wrap it up. Speak to that camera and let them know where they can find you, your social media, and everything else as far as your next show. Maybe, you know, self-promote a little bit.
Yeah.
So wherever you can find more information.
Yeah, you could find us if you're trying to listen to our music. You could listen to it on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Pandora, YouTube. You can pretty much find all of our music, our Instagram, the Currently Classic. Yeah.
So the Currently Classic, we'll add your personal one too if you want.
iTunes, right?
So
iTunes,
you can
Spotify.
check out
Yeah.
your, if you're doing other projects separately too. But yeah, I mean, check them out. They're pretty awesome. I'm actually looking forward to listening to that other rock stuff that you're talking about.
Oh yeah.
So I like your stuff. I like indie stuff, but I'm more into like rock and hard rock and all that.
And
I'm kind of just everywhere too. Yeah, I like everything, but you guys have a good sound, and I like it. But I want to listen to what you're working on too.
Well, actually, we can fill up like 2 albums right now with the Currently Classic music, and it's just stuff you're like, oh man, it's just gonna take off. We do have different various types of styles and sounds, but these next songs that'll be like uploaded, you're gonna be like, oh man, like they got variety.
That's awesome.
To that music. Yeah.
So with that being said, hopefully we can have you on again, man. Later down the road, maybe hopefully you don't get too big on us, and you're so busy.
Hopefully you get too big.
Yeah, no, hopefully.
Still allowed it.
Yeah, and you still do this. But anyways, check this guy out. You're a friend of mine, and this is it, guys. Thank you very much. Hopefully you guys are entertained. We'll get a better setup, hopefully. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Not bad.